I'm addicted to food. I've been a food addict for years. For years, food has controlled my life. Constant cravings, emotional eating, and a feeling that can never be satisfied. If you're struggling with food addiction, you probably know exactly what I mean. But there is hope. In this video, I want to share with you my story and how I was able to finally break free of the food addiction and how I finally feel good. While this isn't a magic bullet, this may be the solution that you've been looking for. Because that's what I was looking for, and I was so excited when I found it. So I hope that you stick around and watch this whole video, because I think you'll find something valuable in it if you're anything like me. Again, I've been a food addict, I'd have to say, all my life. I think as a young kid, it's probably not far-fetched to think that I would just eat as much junk food as possible. But remembering back to being a child, my parents put a restriction on how much me and my brothers could eat. If it wasn't for those restrictions, we'd eat our parents out of household. I think that's normal for a young boy, but my focus was on sweets. And really, I say sweets, but it really included all junk food. I think back to times of my childhood where I had happy memories, and it was usually my grandmother taking me out to fast food. We had different days of the week where we would go to different fast food places. The Happy Meal toy, the ice cream, and just the fun time with the family members. It's not every single time that I go through a drive-thru at McDonald's or Taco Bell today that I think back to those times fondly, but occasionally I do connect the emotions of going through Taco Bell with the memory of me and my grandma going to get Taco Bell and her favorite dish being the Mexican pizza at Taco Bell. I can't say that'd be the actual reason I would be going through the Taco Bell drive-thru, but I just know I had a lot of positive emotions around going out to eat. When I was with my parents, we didn't have a lot of money, so we didn't really go out to eat much. But when I was with my grandmother, she spoiled me. In fact, when I was at her house, I didn't really have any restrictions on anything when it came to food. I could have as much milk as I want. I never had to have a restriction on how many cookies I could eat at once. That's where it led to me binging on food. I would go to my grandmother's house for the summer, and I could have as many Oreos as I wanted. I would just take the whole package of Oreos and just eat it all. When I was with my parents, I wasn't even allowed to have milk. I had to eat cookies with water. But at my grandmother's, I could have as much milk as I liked. I think to some people that may sound like a sad life that I wasn't allowed to have milk at my parents' house, but I don't know. Maybe I was spoiled by my grandmother, or maybe I just had a normal childhood, but to me, it just seemed very different. The biggest difference that I felt oftentimes was being at grandma's house. She showed me a lot of love with food, whether it was food that she made because she was a great cook, or she just knew how much I enjoyed the sweets. Anyways, I think we spent enough time on talking about my childhood experience with sweets and how much it brings back memories just to eat a cookie. Going into adulthood is the same thing. I finally got out on my own. I don't have to have this restriction of having to finish my dinner before I can have dessert. I could just have dessert and not even eat dinner. Well, as a very young adult, I was immature, and that's kind of how I lived. I couldn't just eat a couple Oreo cookies. I had to eat a sleeve, and by that time, I was actually just holding myself back. I could keep on going. A normal practice for me would have been on my way to work, stop at the gas station, get a couple breakfast sandwiches, a candy bar, an energy drink, a soda, and eat all that on the way to work. And usually the candy bar was a king size. Reese cups, by the way. It's one of my favorites. While I was at work, I'd probably run out to a fast food place if they didn't already have something there for us, and I would get the largest size you could get. Then on my way home, I would grab another snack if I didn't already grab a snack during the work shift. Then I would have dinner with the family, and then because I'm a person that likes to stay up late, I would stay up late after all the family gone to bed, and I would eat and watch TV for a couple hours, and I would eat the whole time. Now, I was in the military, so they tried to keep me in shape. I worked out hard sometimes when I was forced to, and usually I maintained a decent weight, but I struggled and I had ups and downs. I had to go on diets pretty much all the time, but I really didn't know what I was doing when I was doing these diets. I did a lot of calorie counting, and I failed a lot. I tried these diets where I was on it for a couple of weeks. I had really good success, but then I would come off of it and go right back to my old ways. I planned to start a diet on a Monday, but because today was Saturday, I figured I better just get it all in now and I would binge and eat as much ice cream and cookies and cake and pie as I could. I don't know if you're like me, but anytime Pizza Hut or some other pizza place comes up with some new crust, some way to put more cheese on a pizza, I just gotta have it. It's like an experience that if I don't get to experience that unique food interaction in my life, it's like I don't want to die without trying that new Reese cup they just came out with. Sounds weird. But yeah, before I would start a diet, I acted as if I would never get to eat again. And this was my last chance to ever have a candy bar. It was sad. I always felt guilty afterwards. Again, I tried many different diets. I spent money on special concoctions and plans that would cleanse the body of all of its fat. I'd get results, but the weight would come back because I would stop, wouldn't be able to stick to it. I did fasts where I wouldn't eat for days, and it has good effects. It works. But if it's not something that you can adopt into your life, it's going to be hard to maintain that for a long period of time. Heck, I'm an addict. While I'm an addict, I do have determination and discipline and motivation, and I can bear through it, but I'm only going to be able to fight the urges for so long. I know you can probably relate to me. You've probably done every diet under the sun just like me. Heck, there was times I went and just ate plants, just salads all the time. My inability to lose weight and stick to it was not because I didn't want it. It wasn't for a lack of effort. And I'm sure that's the same exact thing for you. There's nothing more that you want than to be healthy and a healthy weight and to feel comfortable in your body and be excited to try on new clothes. And I have to tell you, from what I've learned, it wasn't my fault. It was not my fault. It's not your fault. But there is something that I think works. And it may sound extreme. You see, everything that I just explained to you about things that I was addicted to was all sweets and sugars and carbs, pizza, candy, cookies, cake, ice cream, potatoes, French fries, bread, croissants. It's tough. I never got full, and I always wanted more just a little bit later. One of the diets I tried that sounded like it made a lot of sense was keto diet. And you've probably tried the keto diet or at least heard of it. And the concept behind the keto diet, based off my understanding, is that you want to deprive your body of carbohydrates so that your body will switch over from carbohydrates to fat for energy. And since your body doesn't have any carbohydrates that you're consuming, your body will use the fat that you consume, and then once it's done using the fat that you consume, it'll use the fat that's stored in your body as energy. The problem I came across when I was doing the keto diet is that there's a culture in the keto world that you can create almost anything that you ever eaten in the past with a keto recipe. And when you go to the grocery store, there's all these keto-friendly things. It's the keto-friendly brownie, the keto-friendly cookie, the keto-friendly ice cream, and so on and so forth. You find ways to make keto pizza, and it puts you right back into the mindset that you used to be in. The keto diet, to me, was not enough of a drastic change to really rock the addiction out of my body. Think about it. It's an addiction. It would be like saying, you know what, you're addicted to vodka. If you switch from vodka to whiskey, then you won't drink vodka anymore. That's not how an alcohol addiction works. You're still giving your body alcohol. Your body will still crave alcohol. So what would you tell an alcoholic to do? Or what would you have an alcoholic do if they were an alcoholic and they're addicted? You wouldn't have them switch from one alcohol to another, or go from a lot of alcohol to a little bit of alcohol, or a lighter alcohol, or anything like that. If we're on the same wavelength right now, we're thinking the same thing. Alcoholics who are addicted to alcohol or abusing alcohol need to shift their whole mindset and get rid of the alcohol completely. And they don't get rid of the alcohol completely for a couple of weeks or a couple of months. They get rid of the alcohol completely for the rest of their life. I used to be a smoker. I was addicted to smoking. When I first started smoking, I was not addicted. I told myself that. I was like, I'm going to quit anytime I've only had one cigarette. I just want to try it out for some time. That's stupid. 10 years later, After telling myself for 10 years I wasn't addicted, I was finally able to quit. But I could not tell myself I can have a cigarette once a week. That one cigarette a week would turn into a whole pack a day. And also, I couldn't quit smoking for 2 weeks and then pick it back up and not suffer the effects of smoking again. And that's how our diet has to be. One, we have to completely get rid of the thing that's causing harm to our bodies. And two, we can never go back. We have to create that commitment within us. If we can't get that commitment going, then we're going to have trouble. This isn't a temporary thing, and it's not a lukewarm kind of thing. You have to go fully into this. And honestly, that's how it should be for any diet that you're going to do. It has to be something that you're going to do forever, especially as an addict. The part that all the other diets never really did for me was completely cut out the thing that was giving me problems. Until I learned about a diet called the carnivore diet. Now, don't freak out. If you've never heard of the carnivore diet, it sounds a little weird. Ultimately, big, broad strokes, the carnivore diet is you eat meat, eggs, water, salt. It's very basic. It's a high-fat diet, a lot like the keto diet, moderate protein, and very, very little bit of carbohydrates. I've gone from over 270 pounds to now under 200 pounds. My cravings for sweets are completely gone. I don't have it anymore. I was just having a conversation about this with somebody in my family today about quitting smoking. They're trying to quit smoking. They're about 2 weeks in, and I've been quit smoking for about 6 years now. I was relating with them, talking about how there is the chemical addiction of nicotine, but then there's that physical habit that you built about every time that you got in the car, or every time you got done eating, or any time you got done doing anything, or waking up in the morning, or any of those times that you would have normally smoked. You're reminded of it and you want to go do it. Like, you remember what it was like. You remember what you used to do, and your body just wants to go do it. And you have to fight the urge. The difference between the chemical dependency and the habitual dependency is two things that you also deal with when it comes to the food. Your body craves the carbohydrates. It has to switch over to using fats for energy, but then once that goes away, you won't crave the carbs anymore. It takes 1 or 2 weeks for that to happen. The part that you struggle with a little bit is that physical, mental, habitual thing. I remember back to what it was like to eat cookies or have ice cream. And I remember it was fun. I remember fond things about it. I remember it did taste good. It was delicious. It was sweet. But I don't have the craving for it. So I can overcome this. It'd be nice to have it, but, it's not really something I'm craving right now. See the difference between like, oh man, I can't pass it up. Like there's like a difference. I remember my mom, she used to, I'm not going to imitate her, but I remember any time that she would take this bite of ice cream, she'd have like this big smile on her face and she'd do this little happy dance. It was like heaven for my mom to have sweets, and I related to that. So there's like an emotional connection, I think, and then there's the chemical addiction to the carbohydrates. Again, I know it sounds weird. If you are not already on the carnivore diet or you haven't heard of it before, it sounds weird. It probably goes against everything you ever heard of. You're not supposed to eat a lot of red meat. Red meat's all I eat. I eat a couple pounds of meat a day. I haven't had a vegetable in over 6 months. It's backwards. I felt the same way when I first heard about it. But here's some of the things that I've experienced over the past 6 months of being on this diet. I'm down 80 pounds. My blood pressure was hypertension, high blood pressure levels. Now it's 106 over 76, which is great blood pressure levels. I've rid of my body of acid reflux. I don't have it anymore. I used to have it real bad. It would wake me up in the middle of the night. Now I don't have that. I actually made a whole video about it, talking about how to go have a medical procedure and evaluate it and get my esophagus stretched. It was pretty in-depth, but after switching to the diet, I don't have this issue anymore. There are quite a few other improvements that's come about in my health, but they're a little bit smaller and more nuanced things. But I really want to encourage you, if you have it, heard of the carnivore diet before or you haven't tried it before, I want to encourage you to take a lot more time to research it, because I know it's not something that you would just switch over to doing tomorrow just because some guy on the internet that you never heard of is saying that it's good for you. I want to encourage you not to just leave this video and say, hey, that David Cote guy is crazy. There's no way I'm going to start the carnivore diet. So I got two things for you. One, in the description of this video, you're going to find a quick guide to the carnivore diet to kind of lay things out. It's a free ebook you can get. It'll kind of explain a little bit more in depth for you. But then also, one thing as a food addict, I said to myself when I first heard about this was, how in the world can somebody just eat meat? What about all the other things in life? I'm going to miss out on all this stuff. Well, I made a video that talks about how you don't actually get tired of eating meat, and actually you start looking forward to it. And you can find that video right here, and I hope to see you in that video and more videos in the future. Good luck on your journey. If you're an addict just like me, there is hope, and I wish you the best.